Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ramachandra, Jai Shri Lakshmi Narasimha. Today we will be discussing about one of the most important portions in the Garuda Mahapurana. Where do sinners go? What experiences do they face? Where do those who perform good deeds go? What experiences do they face? What happens after death? What happens during death? These are all very important and stupendous questions that have been posed in the Garuda Mahapurana. We would like to explore the answers of these questions with the help of the scriptures. I wouldn't go into each and every detail, but to give you an overview of what happens after death and what are those wonderful and very powerful experiences that are delivered to a sinner or a good person after death in different places of this universe will be explored in today's video. The Garuda Mahapurana is one of the 18 Mahapuranas, the great scriptures, who have deep revelations about both the spiritual world and the material world and everything in between. We would like to explore what happens to an individual who performs negative tasks, negative deeds, and individuals who perform positive deeds. In our previous video, we've explored what it means when we say punya or papa. I would like to cover it once again. A punya means a merit. It is present across religions. The concept of sins and merit, sins, good deeds, etc. is present in every religion. No matter whether you're a Hindu, a Muslim, or a Christian, or a Jain, or a Jew, there is something called right and wrong in every religion. In true religions, there is actually no contradiction. Contradictions are brought about by human misunderstanding. But in actual religion, in the Sanatana Dharma, in eternal religion, there is no contradiction. Violence is violence, non-violence is non-violence, right is right and wrong is wrong. No matter who says what or how many people follow what, right is right and wrong is wrong. Does not vary just because of human perception. It is something that's based on reality, on actuality. So there is no question of different types of perception here, but there is one truth. There is one right and there is one wrong. So there is actually one right and one wrong, as I mentioned, based on our scriptures. And therefore, there is one punya and one papa. There are different types of negative activities, there are different types of positive activities. And each one leads to a different path. When a human continuously performs negative activities, he accrues more and more papa. Or just think of this as a karmic bank account. You gain positive points for performing positive actions and you are rewarded for these positive actions. Every action begets a reaction. So you are rewarded for these positive actions. For example, today I help someone to come out of a problem, a disease, or I help a poor person come out of deep poverty, or I feed someone who is very hungry. I accrue some positive points here. Suppose I do the opposite of this. I snatch food from someone who is already hungry. I torture a person. And unnecessarily I cause violence, harm, and in any case, no matter how the perception of it is, there is one right and one wrong, as we mentioned earlier. And therefore, I have to be rewarded or punished based on these activities only. So that is how karma works. Just think of it as a very simple karmic bank account. And this process is meant for the purification of an individual. This is not a cutthroat legal process as in certain courts. This is a very deep, profound and powerful process to cleanse humans of their misdeeds and to advance the human life further and further to become better beings, better souls every day. And before we go further, let me make one point clear directly from the scriptures. It is that we are not bodies, we are the souls, we are the Atmans, and Atma is a Sanskrit word that cannot be directly translated into English. Atma means the self, the soul. So we are all souls, we are selves. We are not, we are not the bodies, nor are we the mind. The body and the mind are just parts of our existence, but the soul is what we are at the end of the day. So coming back to this, if we commit negative actions, it is because of some reason that we commit negative actions. So what is this reason? Arjuna asks Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, and Lord Krishna responds, Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhava. Which means that it is desire, negative desire, and anger, frustration, greed, and all these emotions together. I'll also explain about the 6 enemies a little bit later, but these 2 main emotions, which form the foundation for the other 6, that is desire and anger, ensuing anger, these actually promote all sorts of sins in our existence. If a human commits sins, it is most likely because of these two negative emotions which we all have to defeat. The fact that we are prone to these negative emotions does not mean we cannot defeat them. There are specific methods which are quite easy but need dedication, and we can defeat these two negative emotions. We all have kama, krodha, lobha, mada, moha and matsarya. I shall explain these a little bit later, but these are the six evil emotions that destroy humans and push them down the ladder of existence. They push them down and down. When I say down and down, they make them go through even worse experiences. The human life is one of the many different types of existence that is awarded by God to souls. According to our scriptures, there are about 84 lakh different forms of a jivi or a life. And human life is one of the most powerful forms of these. On earth, human life is the most powerful and most important and most lucky form. The reason being that it is only the human life which has viveka. It also has conscience, that is prajna. It also has the sense, the ability to sense right and wrong, the difference between right and wrong. That's called viveka. And with this ability, we can easily climb the ladder. And other animals and other forms of life do not have these two abilities. Hence, we must regard and respect this form of life and utilize it to the fullest form for our spiritual advancement. So that's basically the purpose of this life that we have been given by God. It's the human life, and it's very, very rare. And only certain individuals are given the human life. Therefore, before doing something wrong, wasteful or evil, every one of us must think whether we are doing something that's right or wrong. We all do commit mistakes, but we must try to analyze whether we're doing something right or wrong before doing it, because this life is very rare and getting it once again is very difficult. It very much depends on what we do in this life. So the Garuda Mahapurana explains what happens when a person transgresses the moral code, when a person tries to supersede the supreme court of human existence, that is the Supreme Lord and His rules for this earth. We're all parts and participles of the Supreme Godhead. So hence, if we try to transgress the principles that have been laid down, what happens to us? The Garuda Mahapurana lays down a separate verse for these people. Mahapatakajan ghoran narakan prapya darunan karmakshayat prajayante mahapatakinah kshitau. The Garuda Mahapurana also says, Kvathyate deepyate nyatra tatha vatahato nyataha ekam dinam varshashata pramanam narakam bhavet. These two verses are of utmost significance, and there are 20 to 30 more verses dedicated to why a human goes through these processes and what processes come to a human. I shall just give the gist of most of these verses in today's video and mention a little bit about some of these hells. Hells and heavens are different types of experiences. They are areas that are reserved in the universe for enjoyment and suffering, respectively. Heavens and hells, enjoyment and suffering. In hells, souls experience suffering. In heavens, they experience enjoyment. On the basis of what? Not on the basis of a dice roll, not on the basis of just luck or just choice. Rather, it is on the basis of a strict and a very powerful system of law, a supreme law which no one can transgress. And this is known as the law of karma, the natural law of karma, the universal law of karma, which we have talked about in other videos as well. So before we do something evil, there is a particular tool in our mind that has been provided by God. It is known as the conscience, prajna. That's the tool that's located only in humans and is generally not available to any animal form other than the humans. So this tool, conscience, it tells us about the activity, the nature of the activity that we are about to perform. It gives us a kind of sense, a kind of sixth sense, which tells us whether what we're doing is right or wrong. An innate sense. This is the very quality that's been imprinted into our genetics, into our DNA. This does not vary between people. Be it a Muslim, a Christian, a Hindu, or any being, or even a nomad. When a person is about to do something wrong, you get a feeling. For certain people, it's a stronger feeling. For certain people, it's a lighter feeling. But there is a very strong feeling when you're doing something wrong or right. When you're doing something good to another fellow human being or animal, you feel an innate sense of satisfaction and happiness. And that is not coming from your perceptions, but from the depth of your existence. It's coming right from the bottom of your heart. It does not come from what you have learned after being born as a human, but it's innate, it's within you. It's known as conscience or prajna. And that does not vary from person to person except for the intensity, the strength of it. For example, a person who is very well cultured and educated by his parents has a stronger moral sense of conscience, whereas a person like a nomad who has no experience has a weaker sense, but there is always a sense of conscience. And this tool has been provided by God for us to avoid negative actions and for us to promote positive actions at each and every stage of our lives. And now coming to the sinners who are punished, the Garuda Mahapurana says that when a person is about to die, he suddenly gets a sudden flash of all the actions he has committed during his life. And this is a very deep psychosomatic experience. When the person, that moment before death, there is a sudden flash of all the actions that have been done. A fast forward of these actions. Better than saying it's a fast forward, it's an imprint of these actions that's suddenly placed before that person, that's suddenly given to that person. And we suddenly think what we have done throughout our lives, that last moment, it all flashes before us. And just before death comes into picture, we can feel the vayu, the major, most important vayu, the apana vayu, which pushes the soul slowly and steadily out of the body. In certain people very fast, in certain people very slow, depending on the nature of death. And then, if the person has done very good activities, yona kamanna sambrambhan nadveshad dharma mutsrijet, as per the Garuda Mahapurana, the one who does not perform negative actions just because he has excessive desire, or just because he's frustrated, or just because of anger and other negative human emotions. One who does not perform these negative activities, yathoktakari saumyascha sasukham mrityumilchati. One who performs activities based on what has been provided by the scriptures, yathoktakari saumyascha, one who is gentle. After all, these scriptures are guiding lights. They are torches for humanity to tread on the right path. And they give us particular injunctions which are based on time-tested methods to achieve more punya, reduce papa, and to finally understand who we are and how to progress on the human path. So that's exactly what these scriptures are meant for. We all are imperfect human beings, but to tread on this spiritual path, we need the help of these scriptures. And hence the Garuda Mahapurana mentions that one who has been a good person throughout his lifetime, it's not possible for everyone to be 100% good, but one who has, for the majority of his life, tried at every single stage to be a good person. At the end of his life, when the death arrives, it will be quite smooth, and the process of transition from one human body to the other. Actually, as I mentioned in my previous video, death is not the be-all, end-all of everything. It is just a transition time frame. And between this transition and the next birth, there is an interval period. And during this interval period, a lot of dangerous things, a lot of positive or negative experience are meted out to the sinners or the people who have performed good deeds. So the Garuda Mahapurana mentions that at the time of death, if you've been a good person throughout your life, then your death will be easy and simple. If you've performed negative activities, automatically your death will be very fierce, wild, and horrible. It will be a very dangerous experience. But the death is not the end of everything. And when a person is dying, there is a flash of every action that is performed in life. And then certain forces below the earth, very deeply below the earth, begin to drag the soul out of the body. If the person has performed negative actions, that soul is dragged down beneath the earth. And many thousands of kilometers beneath the earth and the solar system itself, there are certain areas in this universe which have not been explored and cannot be explored except by those who have performed negative deeds and who have to go to hell. They go down beneath the earth and they have to experience hell. So what is hell? It is a very deep, surreal and psychosomatic experience that's delivered to the sinners. The different types of hells: Raurava, Maharaurava, Rodha, Tapta Kumbha. There's so many different types of hells with particular names assigned to them based on the different types of machinations that are present in those particular worlds. They are worlds in themselves, they are places in themselves, they're very real, and in fact they are beyond real. And beneath the earth, these are the locations where sinners are punished. Those who kill cows, those who perform abortions of cause unwanted violence to unborn beings, that is the fetus, and those who do different deeds, very negative and evil deeds like killing a human or killing a very noble person, they are put in particular areas in hell. For example, I'll just give an example of one particular hell, and we'll explore some more later on. The different types of hells. In one hell, for particular sinners, a sudden very cold wind breezes carrying sharp swords, and that soul, which is given a special body to feel these horrible experiences, is cut into pieces by these sharp swords after a brief, extremely cold wind that makes them bite the cold and feel extreme pain, hunger, thirst and cold, and finally cutting swords cutting their body, and still they did not die. In the human world, in this material world, if we are hit by just one sword in the right area, the person dies almost immediately. But in hell, we have to go through that pain repeatedly, and the body is repaired once again, and the experience begins once again. So it's kind of a very deep, universal experience that is meted out only to the sinners in particular areas of this universe, and it's the same for any sinner. It does not, the hell does not look at whether you're a billionaire when you committed these sins on earth. You might be able to transgress the code of conduct on earth, the Supreme Court, the so-called Supreme Courts on earth and in different parts of the world, like different countries. But it's not possible by any being to transgress the code of conduct that's laid out by the universal law of karma. And hence these individuals have to go through different types of procedures of purification, and some of these last for hundreds of years. One human day is equivalent to 100 years, one human day is equal to 100 years of suffering in hell. So imagine, this suffering is both a mini time machine. So this is basically a kind of time machine wherein that person is made to go through an extreme experience of suffering during that time frame for purification. And hence it's very important to think twice before performing any negative deed. Those who speak lies, utter falsehood, and create confusion and violence in this world, and try their best to combine kama, krodha, moha, mada, matsarya and lobha in their lives, they have to go through these hells. There are different types of hells. Those who behave in an opposite way to what has been laid out as right and wrong, those who act against their own conscience, they are put in different particular hells for purification. Again, this is not some sort of revenge that's being taken by God, but it's a form of purification. So these sinners, they get a chance to get relieved of these sins, and so that they do not commit sins further. And this is a very effective method that has been laid out by God, and we have to go through these methods if we have performed sins. And if we have performed positive activities, of course there are very positive places in this world, heavens, beautiful experiences that are many times more powerful and more positive than the earth. The earth is a mixture of hell and heaven, many people say, and it's a place wherein we can exercise our body, use our body and mind to perform different actions, and get the effects of these actions and reactions, and somehow try to progress as humans. This is the purpose, the very deep purpose of us being born as humans, is to advance on the ladder of progression and try to avoid falling down the ladder beneath the earth down to hell. That's the very purpose, and we have to somehow solve this purpose together. And when mankind starts doing good activities together, it's possible that we can even reverse this negative period that we're running through, which is Kali Yuga, and make the earth a more better place. Even though that's quite next to impossible, if at least a small group of people start doing this together, slowly and eventually we can help everyone else on earth. And at least even if that doesn't happen, we, the ones who do good deeds, at least can escape from the ultra negative experiences in hell, and we can move up and up on this ladder of progression. Of course, we are not doing good deeds just to escape from hell or just to experience heaven. we perform good deeds so that we get a better life in the next birth, and so that we have a better platform to do better good deeds and keep advancing this way. And during this advancement, we need to keep trying to understand who we are and finally get liberated from this cycle of birth and death. So death doesn't mean everything is ended, and birth doesn't mean there is no death afterwards and everything from now on is continuous. Many people are under this false impression that once they're born, everything is continuous and life just continues, there is no break. But then when suddenly death comes, all those activities come in a flash, and that remembrance is erased, and then one is taken to hell. And just before the next birth, the remembrance is erased, and once again, based on these activities, the sinner is transported to a different birth. For example, a person who's been really greedy and was eaten all sorts of horrible foodstuffs which are not meant for a progressive human being will be turned into a pig, for example. The different types of yonis, births, based on your activities, but there are particular births for particular types of people. For example, if I've been a very cunning and evil person in this lifetime, I might turn into a very cunning and evil type of species in the animal world. Or if I've been even more heinous and performed very evil crimes, I might be even pushed down to an insect or probably even a microorganism with a very short and very insignificant lifespan. And therefore, each and every individual has to go through these transitions, and more information is available in the Garuda Mahapurana. I would suggest readers to read the Garuda Mahapurana, but before you read this great scripture, please read the Bhagavad Gita, which can provide you a foundation for understanding the very deep concepts that are laid out in the Garuda Mahapurana. It is certainly not for beginners, and it requires some explanation and some background from the Holy Gita. So, wishing you all the best in understanding the future of how humans are and how they will be. There's a lot of information in the Garuda Mahapurana of how human civilization will continue in the future. There are other Mahapuranas as well which explain this wonderfully. For example, the Srimad Bhagavata Purana, which also explains the human civilization and the path to progress, etc. I would recommend reading all these scriptures and understanding them and applying them as much as possible to our own lives. It's a part of a process, a continued and eternal process that we all humans have to go through, in which we all advance together. And of course, every religion has their own method of explaining this, but the fountainhead of all religions is Sanatana Dharma. And these scriptures constitute Sanatana Dharma, and the right way of interpreting them and understanding them can help every one of us. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna.